What's up, I'm Al Cox. I play games, make games, and everything in between. And today I'm going to show you the process I went through to make this game. Game jams are a lot of fun and a great opportunity to just kind of tinker around in the fun spirit of making a game. Let me show you how I made this game in under 72 hours. Before I begin, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that little bell as I go through the game dev process of how this game came to be. The theme for this game jam was winter holidays. Bonus points if you don't move the character, which means the character probably needs to be dynamic or at least kinematic. Here you can see I started with the twist template because the twist template is super straightforward. It has the mechanic of the environment moving around as opposed to the main character. And in the twist template, the character is kinematic, but in my game, the character will eventually be dynamic. Dynamic allows the character to just freeform move in the physics environment that it's given, whereas in kinematic has more control and is able to move the ball around with the certain physics attributed to the ball, but can only move in a certain left-right fashion that can only be dictated by the player and how they control it, whereas in dynamic it's just free-flowing. So in this process of the game dev development, I've incorporated the level tool integrator by Particles, which I'll link down to it below. He has a Buildbox doc that allows you to have multiple levels, and you can go from level 1 to level 2 to level 3, all within this specific world that has unique code applied to it. There I tried to use a Trello board. Trello is a good organizational management tool to help get your goals, but this being a game jam for 72 hours, I just found myself just instantly always just trying to like build the game. I recreated the twist template and I made a new world, and I tried to use a cone, and the idea behind this was a mountain. I was trying to build like a mountain, a snowball coming from the top of the mountain down to the bottom of the mountain, and here I have cubes that I'm placing into the cone and setting that cube to a kinematic physics while being attached as a child to the bigger cone. I am just trying to get everything to work perfectly because the main issue is when you rotate the cone, I wanted the kinematic objects that are attached as child to move along with the cone. Now I'm still having trouble with the main character physics being set to dynamic, but that's something I work on later. Right now it's just getting this world environment to move as I would like. Because again, the secret goal of the competition was to get the ball to move. You don't control the character, and this is what I'm trying to do, where I have the character, the ball and the snowball move left and right. You'll see this throughout this time lapse where I just go and I open up other templates, and that is specifically so I can understand how that template works, how the ball and the physics in those template works, whether it's the ball is set to dynamic, kinematic. And then I also noticed there are two main places you always want to look at when changing the physics of anything in Buildbox 3. There are two places. You want to look at the start node and the Buildbox 3 model node. Those are the most important because in those places, if you forget to change a cube to a sphere or a sphere to a cube, then you will see problems down the line. And usually these changes are something you want to make immediately when you bring the item into Buildbox. Now here in the game progress, you can see I'm still trying to mess with the idea of making it a mountain that you're moving down and there's objects that get in your way. You know, I'm thinking that it could be trees or bushes, but here at this point I'm just playing with objects, playing with the 3D physics of it and seeing what I can do and make from it to have this world be a realistic world of a snowball falling down and coming. time and time again, these other templates have basic core mechanics, which I'm just trying to understand. And here specifically, I'm checking out the path template to see how the character moves in the path. I noticed you have a path, you have a kinematic character. Currently I'm having trouble with a dynamic character because the dynamic physics leads to the ball moving all over the place. I'm trying to get the ball to the finish line, not fall off the world. And playing with those physics over and over again get a little complicated. And yeah, just doing things like starting over, playing with the simple movements definitely helps get a grasp of how the physics works. And here's a cool place because I literally put the ball on top of a cone and then put the cone down at an angle. So physics has to be applied, and the ball itself definitely gains speed and momentum when moving downhill. This is again just simple physics. All these things make sense and work accordingly, but later I continue to have problems where the ball just falls off the cylinder, and I don't want to. So here you can see me putting up fake walls or walls that I'll eventually make invisible so that the ball cannot fall over off the world. For the most part, this works pretty well until I have issues, because then I want to put in sticky objects that have the ability to attach to the ball while also increasing the size of the character to emulate the whole thing when snow falls down a mountain, picks up more snow and gets bigger. I had problems with this down the line. I had problems with getting the finish line to work to signal the event observer. I'm not sure if it was the physics object I was using, if it was set to kinematic dynamic. A lot of trial and error here. Here we can see me creating checkered pattern, because while I'm still trying to figure out how textures work, I have been told by the community like that's where you go to put in objects with different colors. They also have textures with them. So again, this is all a learning experience and trial and error. Here I'm adding sticky objects which don't turn out the way I want them to, but it's definitely fun to play around in a 3D world like this. Blender is a very important tool. I wanted to make just simple poly-like objects. I spent a month in Blender. Going back to it now is kind of difficult, but totally doable. Yeah, making simple objects in 3D on your own is just a lot of fun to do. And here, this poly orb is more fulfilling than just a straight cube. Again, I'm working with the animation. Snow Crash, I was very happy to come up with the name. It's an homage to the book. If you know Snow Crash the book, then you got mad points in my book. A lot of book references. This is like a day, almost a day and a half still into the game jam, and the game is still having trouble to be built. I still have trouble with the main character moving down the line. I don't want the character to be kinematic. I want the character to be dynamic, but in this process, the dynamic character kept falling off the world. The sticky cubes were not working. I would get the sticky spheres to work, but not the sticky cubes. And that again could have been issues with the physics object or the 3D model. There are two places you want to check when messing with the physics of an object, and that is the start node and the 3D model node. You need to make sure these line up. Whenever I've had issues with the physics, that is where it was. This was a lot of fun. At this point, I'm literally just trying to keep the ball in the cylinder. I don't know why it's not working. The ball would fly up in the air, and the physics is saying why gravity is -10, -15, -50, and it would still fly up in the air. So I was almost thinking like a paddle at that point, but here we can see I just go back into the other templates, try to see how the physics in those worlds is working and what I can do to incorporate it into my game. A day and a half and I'm still struggling to just make this game make sense. Moments like these are very discouraging because you just want to make a game. Some people are posting on their Twitter or Instagram account and you're like, whoa, those games are cool, but my game, I can't even get the core mechanic down. If you don't have the core mechanic down, it's very difficult to see the finish of the game happening. And here, I'm testing the level scale. of the snowball, of it getting bigger, using different objects. I use a brown stick to make it think of a possible sticking tree. And even then, it doesn't fully work the way I like, because as the snowball gets bigger, the objects it's attached to also get bigger, which is not what I want. And I'm sure there's ways to avoid that if you know how to code and adjust the code, but we are not at that level. So here you can see I just totally ditched the whole cone or the pyramid of the world, and I just was like, okay, let me just do a flat world where I have a snowball and I try to control the ball to just get to the end, because the goal was to get the snowball to the end, hit a ramp, shoot off the ramp, and kind of hit like a bullseye or that purple square, purple rectangle you see in the background. Now, none of this is gonna come into fruition, but I don't know that yet. And so I'm making the finish line, and if the ball character hits the finish line, you shoot off in the Z-axis with the if collide. None of that came to work out the way I wanted to, but it's important to try it out. I even put the sticky balls in the platform, but they also move with the world. Those balls were set to dynamic, and trying to get the snowball to hit the green balls to pick it up, a lot of trial and error here. And that's okay. I was also noticing if the sticky balls touched any other object, then they would instantly conform to the scale of that object, which is not what I was going for. I did have a cool snowman effect where there was a snowman, and the second you hit the play button, the snowball from the head of the snowman would fall off into the world. That was really cool and fun to just think creatively about. Now, none of this made it into the final gameplay, but you know, the things you experiment in a game jam, definitely you're just messing around with stuff, trying to make stuff work. Like, does it work? I don't know, maybe. So this was cool. I just added an 80s car into the world because my thought was none of this is working. What if I just have the snowball fall onto an 80s car? That'll be cool. Why don't we put the car on top of a small, I don't know, sphere, and then just move the orb around? And this is where the game slowly came into the final idea. Having a sphere that you can control in a three-dimensional way. Originally I was going to have the snow fall on to just the car, but I didn't know how to do colors. If I can make the ball fall on a car, I can make the ball fall on a target or red cubes. Here I was playing with the idea of moving the 3D world, having it so that if the main character fell off the world and it touched the checkers in the back, it would cause the game over. And then, you know, adding trees to the world. And then I realized that just making the orb blue gives it a planet-like feel. And then these clouds were my favorite part, because having the clouds and then adding the clouds as kinematic, but then no collision, allows the snowball to fall through the cloud, but allows the cloud to still move with the movement of the earth. And that to me was really cool to do and see. And then the next step was to create an introduction into the level. I wanted to have the snowball on top of a cloud, and then that cloud slowly move away, and causing the snowball to fall onto the world. Now, adding graphics can get complicated, so I just thought I would add a box present. Adding a present is super simple, and it just kind of like makes sense and goes well in the scenario. Originally, I was going to do a different theme for each level, but I just kept with the planet. And here, I'm literally just making this planet as badass as I can, and then I'll copy the world itself. When it comes to if collides, I have if collides for everything. I have found in the previous version of Buildbox that if you have if collide for a platform, some platforms it works, some platforms it doesn't. If collide for enemy, some enemies character touches it works, some enemies it doesn't. That was an older version of Buildbox, like not that old, maybe two levels ago. So here, if the snowball falls on the prize, then you get a game Good job, level complete. And then the next thing I noticed is just making the world smaller, easier to manage, easier to move around, and playing with the camera angle right here. Yeah, and just getting the world to move the way I want it to. It's not as smooth as you would think, but it is a fun dynamic to just be able to like move left and the world moves left, and then move up and the world moves up. It's on a specific rotation in the asset. The movement control I used was touch rotate. That has specific XY coordinates and how things move. The hope was that once you understand the movement, then you'll be able to move the planet and get the snowball to fall onto the prizes. Here, I'm just trying to mess with the progress bar. I got this progress bar from the Buildbox forums and people I talk with on Discord. And here I was just trying to edit it so that it worked for this level. And it took me a while to figure out why it wasn't working. And that was because the progress bar is specific to a path. And this game doesn't use any path, it uses all physics. It takes me a while to figure that out. And then later I actually end up adding invisible paths to the world so that the paths still work in terms of how long it takes for the character to hit the planet. It's not like your classic path that if the level is 1000 pixels or whatever, 1000 distance, that if the character moves 1000 distance, it's over. I got it to work close enough. This is a game jam. I'm not trying to be super specific in how things are done. I'm just trying to get the overall theme across. We saw I just made 5 levels. Game slowly coming into, makes sense. Also on the presents, all the presents have a random color associated to that node. The cube box of the present has a random color node set to it so that whenever it appears, it's always a random color. So all the colors specifically there are random. Also when the snowball hits the present, it'll also blow up random colors. That is just a poly ball that has a random color node attached to it. Very simple to do and looks great. I do set the brightness and incandescence to 1 apiece, which adds a lighter tone to all the colors, almost kind of like a pastel. Something I recommend because sometimes the colors can look kind of dark and that's just not as pleasing to the eye. Adding a level complete UI. There's a way to have just 1 level complete UI. However, I was having trouble because I imported code for the level selector tool and it was just looping around the first 3 levels and not going to all 5 levels. So an easy way to fix that was to just literally connect the complete level to the beginning of the new level as opposed to having it all done internally, which is possible, but I wasn't able to figure it out. This was a really cool part. I was trying to make it snow from the other clouds. I realized now I should have had the spawner spawn children of itself to move down. I didn't do that, so I wasn't able to create snow. But when I saw other people create snow or particles like snow, making the objects static or kinematic, but creating a child of the object. So I didn't do that, so basically the object fell to the earth and there was only 1 object. And I didn't want that. I wanted the object to have objects fall. I reviewed where I had done that in other projects that I made with Buildbox 3, but during the game jam, I just forgot about that and I couldn't recreate it. Could have been I was smoking a lot of weed, drinking at the same time. Who knows? Could be a mystery. I wasn't able to get that done, and now that I see how it was done, I'm kind of like, oh man, I wish I would have just remembered that. But that's the upside to using the software over and over again, is the more you use it, the more you become familiar and you tend not to forget some basic things. Here I wanted to add a Christmas tree with some lights to it. And there I just use the random balls that have random colors but are kinematic. So I was able to reuse assets. A lot of assets are used in Buildbox 3. Some of them I reused the assets. Some of them I just created brand new assets, which in the long term take up space. But I was trying to make this game quickly, and saving up space and memory wasn't at the forefront of my idea. My idea was just to make something quickly, get it out there, and hopefully it looks good. And then here you can see I'm just having fun. I'm creating characters and things next to the presents. Here I make a snowman, give it the hat, which also changes color, add in Christmas tree star, going with the overall theme of winter holidays. In hindsight, I wish I had a better understanding of how to import 3D graphics. I didn't really, so I just created a menorah. The great thing I learned from here was using the multi-tool. The multi-tool is probably one of the most badass tools in Buildbox. It's kind of complicated to use because it literally moves things around in 3 dimensions. I have to say, creating objects in 3 dimensions is a lot of fun. I've had times where it literally gives me a headache. And this was really cool because I was making the lights for the menorah, and I thought lights were like way off in the distance, but they were just really small, like 2 inches in front of the lights. I had no idea because you're in a 3D world here. Three Kings is like a holiday. I googled winter holidays and 3 Kings came up, so I just took 3 crowns and added it into a level. Just simple stuff. And then I also try to make a secret level. I couldn't get the event observers to go correctly from level complete to game over to repeat the level. And then I even created a pipe in the world that if you made it in the pipe, you would be taken to the secret level. And the secret level was to be more fun, less away from the holiday theme, and just like more of a, playing with the physics of having all these balls and moving a 3D object to catch the balls. Again, this is just me having fun, me trying to have more than just a winter holiday game where you try to hit the prize, and trying to add a secret level to it that if you made it into a pipe, that you would go to the secret level. Now, the secret level ended up not working because I couldn't get the event observers to work properly. Overall, a lot of fun to make, and just having balls just come down, seeing the physics, trying to make something new and different. Just playing around after I felt like I've gotten the core of the game finished. And this is where I just made the pipe. Very cool stuff. And originally, if you got the snowball into the pipe, you would jump to the secret level. That was the whole idea. Because you have your primary theme of the game, which is hit the presents. That's the game, that's your main objective, and you would never think of hitting the pipe unless you saw the pipe, and then when you saw the pipe, then you'd be like, oh yeah, let's get it. And then even if you get it into the pipe, it's really cool what happens. All the balls explode in the pipe. Very fun animation. There I was adding a paddle to the globe where you're just like, again, just more play happening here. Balls come down, you hit the ball with your paddle, making different kinds of paddles, just experimenting at this point. Again, I'm trying to figure out the event observer, which I just couldn't get working properly. I'm not exactly sure why. This is the game dev process, and at the end, game complete. I'm going to put this game up on the App Store. Why not? I made it. I might do some tweaking. A lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed the game dev process too. I know I did. Definitely going to be taking a look at all the other games that have been made. I've been looking at the games on Twitter and Instagram, and they look just really cool. And I'm excited to hear what Buildbox says. So anyways, if you've enjoyed me going through my game, please leave any comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And thanks, and I will see you next time. Peace.